Welcome to Rhema Words of Faith, Daily Bread Devotionals. Today we're diving into a powerful and encouraging verse from the Bible, Jeremiah 33 verse 3. It says, "Call to me, and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know." This verse is an invitation from God, calling us into a deeper relationship with Him. It's a promise that when we reach out to God, when we pray and seek Him with all our hearts, He will respond. He will answer us, and He will reveal things to us that we could never have discovered on our own. This is a powerful reminder that God is not distant or silent. He is always ready to speak to us. Whether we're in need of guidance, wisdom, or peace, God promises to answer when we call on Him. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore what this verse really means, how we can experience God's answers in our own lives, and why it's important to trust that He wants to reveal great and unsearchable things to us. The first part of Jeremiah 33 verse 3 says, "Call to me," which is an invitation to communicate with God. The idea of calling on God is a reminder that we don't have to figure things out on our own. When life feels uncertain, when we face challenges or confusion, God is ready to listen to us. He invites us to share our hearts with Him, to bring our concerns, questions, and even our fears to Him. Often, we might feel like God is too far away or too busy to hear us, but this verse assures us that He is near and waiting for us to reach out. Calling on God is not just about asking for help. It's about engaging in an active, ongoing relationship with Him. When we call to God, we're choosing to trust that He will answer, that He cares about every detail of our lives, and that He is always present. Whether we whisper a prayer in the quiet of our hearts or shout our needs out loud, God listens. His invitation to call is an invitation to trust in His goodness, His attentiveness, and His willingness to guide us. Jeremiah 33 verse 3 continues with the incredible promise, "I will answer you." This is such a beautiful part of the verse because it assures us that God doesn't just hear us, He responds. God is not distant or disconnected from our lives. He is fully engaged, and He promises to answer when we call. Sometimes we might wonder if God is listening, especially when our prayers feel unanswered. But this verse reminds us that God's response is always certain. He hears every prayer, and He responds in His perfect way and timing. God's answers might not always come in the way we expect, but He always responds with what's best for us. Sometimes His answer is clear and immediate. Other times it's a quiet reassurance that He is at work. And still other times it's a season of waiting as He prepares us for what's ahead. Trusting that God will answer is an act of faith. It's about believing that He cares for us, and that His responses are always for our good, even if they don't look the way we imagine. The next part of this verse is truly powerful. "And tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know." This is a promise that goes beyond just answering our questions. God promises to reveal things to us that are beyond our human understanding. These are not just ordinary answers. They are great and unsearchable things. They are insights, wisdom, and knowledge that we could never come to on our own. When we call on God and ask for His guidance, He doesn't just give us surface-level answers. He opens our eyes to deeper truths, to things we may never have thought of, and to His perfect will for our lives. God's revelation is meant to enrich our understanding of who He is, what He's doing in the world, and how we can align ourselves with His plans. When we seek God, He promises to give us wisdom that is far greater than anything we could discover on our own. This is a powerful reminder that God's wisdom is available to us, and when we call on Him, we can expect to be amazed by the great things He reveals. The promise of Jeremiah 33 verse 3 reminds us that God's wisdom is unsearchable. This means that no matter how much we learn or grow, there will always be deeper levels of understanding to explore in our relationship with God. His wisdom is infinite, and it's available to us when we seek it. This doesn't mean we will always understand everything immediately, But it does mean that God's wisdom is always available for us to discover. It's like searching for treasure. The more we dig into His Word, the more we uncover the richness of His knowledge and the depth of His love. The unsearchable things God reveals to us can be profound insights into His character, His plans for us, and the world around us. They might come as gentle nudges in our hearts, moments of clarity in prayer, or through His Word as we read it with an open heart. As we embrace God's unsearchable wisdom, we become more equipped to navigate life's challenges with His perspective. This kind of wisdom not only helps us make wise decisions, but it also, in Jeremiah 33 verse 3, God invites us to call on Him. But it's important to remember that this isn't just a one-time request. God is inviting us into an ongoing relationship, and that means consistent communication with Him. Just as in any relationship, it's vital to keep the conversation going. If we only reach out to God in times of desperation, we miss out on the depth of the relationship He wants to cultivate with us. Consistent prayer, calling on God regularly, helps us to stay connected to His presence and ensures that we are constantly in tune with His voice. God desires to speak to us, but He also wants us to be attentive to Him. Regularly calling on God isn't about simply asking for things. It's about cultivating a heart that is receptive to His guidance, listening for His voice and engaging with Him in meaningful ways. When we make calling on God a part of our daily routine, we invite Him into every aspect of our lives. This kind of consistency builds trust and allows us to experience the fullness of His promises. Over time, as we consistently turn to God, we begin to see how He is shaping us, guiding us, and working on our behalf. If you're facing a decision or navigating a season of uncertainty, remember that God is always ready to answer when you call. His invitation is not limited to specific moments, but extended every single day as we seek His wisdom and direction. Jeremiah 33 verse 3 is especially powerful in times of struggle and uncertainty. When we're faced with challenges, it's easy to feel like we're alone, like we have no direction or hope. This verse reminds us that even in our toughest times, God is still near, ready to respond. Sometimes the struggles we face can cloud our ability to see the bigger picture. We may get lost in the details of our circumstances or consumed by fear. But God is calling us to rise above that by seeking Him in the midst of it all. He promises that when we call on Him, He will answer, and He will reveal things that help us navigate through the fog. When we call on God during difficult times, it's not just about asking for an immediate solution. It's about drawing closer to His heart and allowing His peace to fill us. The great and unsearchable things He reveals to us may not always be the answers we want, but they are always the answers we need. God's revelation helps us see beyond our circumstances and allows us to trust that He is at work, even when we don't fully understand how. This is a vital practice in maintaining hope, because it reminds us that we are never alone in our struggles. God is there to guide us, to strengthen us, and to help us find His way through the darkness. While it's comforting to know that God promises to answer us, it's also essential to recognize that His answers come in His perfect timing. Jeremiah 33 verse 3 doesn't promise that God will respond immediately or in the way we expect, but it does promise that He will answer. This requires us to trust in God's timing, which can sometimes be different from our own. In our fast-paced world, we often expect answers to come quickly, and when they don't, we can become discouraged or anxious. But God's timing is always for our good. When we call on God, we must remember that His answers will come at the right moment, according to His wisdom. Sometimes, we might feel like we're waiting too long for an answer, but in reality, God may be preparing us or working behind the scenes to bring about the best possible outcome. Trusting in God's timing is not always easy, but it's essential for deepening our faith. As we wait for His answers, we learn patience, reliance on Him, and we grow in our understanding of His ways. We may not always get the response we expect, But we can trust that God's answers will always be what is best for us and will lead us closer to His purpose for our lives. As you pray and seek God's guidance, remind yourself to trust that His timing is always perfect. Jeremiah 33 verse 3 tells us that God will reveal great and unsearchable things to those who call on Him. However, to fully experience God's revelation, we must approach Him with faith. Faith is essential because it's through faith that we believe God is not only listening, but also actively working on our behalf. God's wisdom and insight often go beyond what we can understand on our own, but through faith, we trust that He will reveal what we need to know, even when we don't fully grasp the situation. Having faith in God's revelation means believing that He will open our eyes to truths that are beyond our natural understanding. It also means trusting that His answers will help us grow and move forward, even if they don't align with our own plans. The more we exercise our faith in God's promises, the more we begin to see how He works all things together for our good, even when we don't immediately see the end result. Faith is the bridge that connects our doubts with God's perfect wisdom. When we call on God in faith, we open ourselves to His guidance, and He responds by revealing the things that will lead us toward His purpose. It's in this faith-filled pursuit of God that we experience the full measure of His love and the clarity we need to make decisions, trust His path, and embrace His truth. Jeremiah 33 verse 3 is not just a verse to comfort us in times of prayer. It's a promise to guide our lives every day. When we call on God, He promises to answer, and He promises to reveal truths that can change the way we live. This revelation doesn't just give us answers, it gives us purpose, direction, and hope. It's an invitation to live with confidence, knowing that God is always present, always listening, and always ready to show us the way. As you reflect on this promise, I encourage you to call on God in every area of your life, trusting that He will answer and guide you through both the everyday moments and the significant challenges. If this devotional has blessed you, please like, comment, and share this message with someone who could benefit from hearing God's promise to answer when we call. And don't forget to subscribe for more messages that will inspire you to trust in God's promises and live boldly in His love. Keep calling on Him, knowing that great and unsearchable things are waiting to be revealed to you.